Hello everyone, welcome to Intellipaat. This short video is to introduce Spark framework and Spark SQL. So as part of this session, I will be exposing you to Spark framework and what is Spark SQL, right? As you know, Spark is playing a vital role in industry these days for big data processing and the analytics, right? So now let's look at the agenda, what all we are going to do throughout this session. So we'll see the introduction of Spark first. What is Spark all about? How does it work? Then we will look at the Spark stack as to what are the different components of Spark. Then we will see the Spark execution flow, right? Like what actually happens in the background, what are the different, nodes involved, what are the different services involved in order to process the data using Spark framework. And towards the end of this session, I'll talk about Spark SQL. All right. And in the later half of this session, I will also run through a small program of Spark SQL. Okay, so let's get started. So what is Spark first? So it is an open source cluster computing and fast processing engine, right? It is built around the speed, ease of use, and analytics. So this is basically used for, mainly for the big data projects where you have huge data to process, where you need to perform, analytics on top of huge data sets, right? So since it is fast in the nature, that is why it is mostly used in the industries these days for fast processing. From the language perspective, it supports Java, Scala, as well as Python. So there is no restriction as to which language you will be using. If you are comfortable with Java, you can go ahead with Spark development using Java or Scala as well as Python. This is 100 times faster than Hadoop Mapreduce. Yeah, that is the main advantage of Spark because this is in-memory computational engine. That is why it is faster than the Hadoop Mapreduce. It works on the concepts of RDDs, which stand for Resilient Distributed Dataset. So this RDD is actually the base of Spark. This is the basic abstraction of Spark, right? Whatever data that you process, that is actually converted into RDDs, in RDD, Resilient Distributed Dataset objects, and then they are processed in the main memory itself, right? That is why we call it in-memory computational engine. So basically, Spark is actually designed to cover a wide range of workloads, including the batch applications, iterative algorithms, interactive queries, and streaming. Yeah, and it is designed to be highly accessible and offers very simple APIs using Java, Python, Scala, as well as SQL. Right. So people who are coming from SQL. Okay. So let me now talk about the Spark stack, what the Spark stack is all about. So Spark framework contains multiple closely integrated components, right? So these are different components of Spark, which you can leverage to, do different sort of processing, right? So let's talk about them. So at the base of this Spark framework, we have the Spark core, right? So the basic functionality of Spark is the Spark core. So it is an API that defines the resilient distributed data sets, the RDDs, right? And RDDs are the Spark's main programming abstraction. So Spark core provides the APIs for building and manipulating these data sets coming from the heterogeneous sources and in different formats. So the base of the Spark is the Apache Spark core. on top of that, we have different components. First is the Spark SQL. So the Spark SQL is the Spark's component to work with the structured data, right? So it supports the many sources of data, including Hive tables, NoSQL databases like Cassandra, and the different data formats like Parquet and JSON. Yeah. So Spark SQL is basically meant for processing the structured data. Yeah. The second one is the Spark streaming. So Spark streaming is the Spark component that enables you to process the live streams of data, right? Not the batch processing. Suppose you are getting the messages or data in packets, which is live, yeah, in a stream. And if you want to transform that data at the same time, you can use this particular module of Spark, which is known as Spark streaming. The another component is MLib, MLlib, machine learning library. So Spark actually comes with a library called MLlib, which is mainly used for machine learning. Now these MLlib libraries, this API provides the multiple types of machine learning algorithms like classification, regression, clustering, collaborative filtering, etc. So now implementing these algorithms using some code from the scratch is not that easy. So what Spark has done, they have given you the libraries, inbuilt libraries, and you can directly use those APIs in order to implement these algorithms. So the advantage of this is that you don't need to implement the entire algorithm from the scratch. They have already written for use. So that's about MLlib. And the another Spark Stack component is the GraphX. So this GraphX is actually library for manipulating the graphs like social networking friends graph, networking graphs. Yeah, suppose you have got historical sales data, you have processed that particular data, and now you want to create some sort of graphs out of that. You can use GraphX for that. All right. So that's about the Spark Stack, the different components of Spark framework. Now, if you see, Spark gives you multiple flavors of the APIs for different sort of tasks. Like for basic transformation, you can use Apache Spark Core. For transforming the data from structured sources like SQL, NoSQL databases, Hive, you can use Spark SQL. For transforming the live streaming data, you can use Spark streaming. For implementing the machine learning algorithms, maybe in case of IoT, or implement some other big data analytics tools or solutions, you can use MLlib and then GraphX. So it gives you the multiple flavors, different flavors of processing the data. Here is the execution flow. So if you look at the first diagram, this one, now Spark works on a master slave architecture, right? So you have a master machine which actually manages and monitors the job execution, which initiates the job, and then you have the worker machines or the slave machines, and these are the machines where actually actual tasks run, right? So in a case of in a bare code, the code that you write for Spark is known as the driver code, and Spark context is the basic initialization object of your Spark program. This maintains the this is a basic object for your Spark program. Cluster, here you've got the cluster manager, and which actually manages the resources on different machines, since you are working on a distributed environment. And on the worker nodes, if you see, there are executors created, and under these executors different tasks run, right? So suppose if you have to process some employee.csv file, which is very huge in size, maybe in GBs, And if you want to process that, now you can leverage the power of distributed computing. The same file can be processed on multiple machines. So that is how it's actually works in the background. So that's about the execution flow. Now let me talk about the Spark SQL. What a Spark SQL is. So it's a Spark stack component which is meant for processing the data coming from the structured sources. So it is a relational data processing API in a Spark, right? And it can work on the variety of sources, data coming from heterogeneous sources like CSV files, JSON file. And it gives you wonderful integration with Hive also. You can also process the Parquet files and the data coming from the NoSQL databases like Cassandra, Couchbase, etc. It provides a very special type of RDD called schema RDD, right? So the basic abstraction of Spark is RDD, but when you want to process something that is coming from the structured source, that RDD is actually known as schema RDD, which is one level of abstraction of the RDDs only, right? So schema RDD is an RDD of row objects. Yeah, it's an RDD of row objects, each representing a record. Yeah. So Spark SQL basically lets you query the data using SQL. You can also use the external tools that connect to Spark SQL through the standard JDBC ODBC database connectors, right? Or maybe you can integrate the BI tools like Tableau also with Spark. All right. So that's about the Spark SQL. Now let us get into the action. But before that, let me talk more about this Spark SQL. So it actually provides you with three sets of APIs. First is the schema RDD, which we talked about in the previous slide, and then data frames and data sets. So Spark SQL itself provides you three different APIs to process the structured data. So schema RDDs is an RDD of row objects, each representing a record. Yeah. So the basic abstraction of Spark SQL. Second thing that you have is the data frame. Now this data frame is something where the data is actually organized into the named columns. Yeah, the data is organized. We will see this using the practical as well. So here the data is actually organized into the named columns, right? So it gives you the illusion like a structured table, which is coming from some relational database. The third API is the data set, which is similar to data frame, but has got some optimizations over that, and it provides you the typed API, right? So the data that you are getting in form of the RDDs, they are actually strongly typed, right? So when I say strongly typed, it means the data type of the collection is can be tagged at the compile time only. So this is a collection of strongly typed JVM objects. Yeah. So let me show you a few examples. So let's get into the action now. I'll first of all show you how I can process the data coming from CSV using Spark SQL, and then in the later exercise I'll show you how we can connect our Spark SQL with a NoSQL database like Cassandra. All right. So let me open a Spark shell. So here's the command to open a Spark shell. I'm loading a package along with that, which is com.databricks Spark CSV and the version, so that I can directly work with the CSV files, right? So it's coming up. All right, so let me first of all import a package org.apache .spark.sql because I want to work on SQL here. Let me create a SQL context. And I can say SQL context, and I'm providing the Spark context object, which is SC here. Oops, there is some problem. What it says. Let me take new. Okay, so I've got a SQL context here. Now, with the help of the SQL context, I can work on the structured data coming from the sources like CSV. So I will try to now load a CSV file in an object called this empdf, and let me show you the CSV file that I'm going to load. This file, which is emp.csv, I'm going to load here, right? So it has got some structure, some schema like ID, name, country, department, and few rows, right? So how we load the file here? So we'll use the SQL context which we created in the previous step. Then we have a method read.format, and what format you want to use? Initially, if you remember, we started the Spark shell with this package com.databricks. So we'll be using the same format, that is com.databricks.spark.csv. Yeah, com.databricks.spark.csv. All right, and we'll provide few options here. So one option is it should infer the schema. It should understand the schema automatically. Yeah, infer schema, and that should be true. All right, then few more options, because my file has a header also, so I'm saying that header is true. All right, and what I'm going to load here, I'm going to load the emp.csv file. Okay, so what it will do, it will load the CSV file and create a data frame for you. Take some time to create the data frame. Okay, so I have got the data frame. Now if you see, the schema has been understood automatically: ID, integer, name, string, and few more fields. If I show you the data of this emp data frame using this, it will show you the entire data set here. Now you can play around with this data frame. You can do, different sort of operations, like you can say, you can suppose filter some data, like you can say dot filter, and you want to just get the data of the employees whose department is, IT, dot show. Yeah, how fast is it, right? Since for example we have a very small data set, but had there been some GBs or TBs of data, it would have given the results faster, right? So that's how you can use Spark to create the data frames. Let me quickly show you one more example of Cassandra. So how I can connect Spark with Cassandra. So let me first of all show you the data that I already have in my Cassandra database. So let me describe the key spaces. I'm going to use test underscore Spark. Here I've got a table called emp. Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll try to connect my Spark with this Cassandra database and try to fetch the entire data, right? So let's move to the Spark shell. So for that we will have to import few packages. So com.datastacks.spark.connector is one package. The another package that I'm going to import here is for Spark Conf. So it's org.apache dot spark dot spark conf, yeah, and the another package is com dot apache dot spark context. So oops, there is some problem. Okay, spark conf we have done here. Oops, it's org.apache. So we imported the packages. Now let me create quickly a connection with the Cassandra. So I'm creating an object while conf saying new spark conf, a new configuration. Yes, I want to create a new configuration and set the properties. So what do you want is spark dot Cassandra dot connection, yeah, dot host, and give the host on which your Cassandra is running. So it is in my case running on my local host only, yeah. Now I'm going to stop the Spark context and I'll create my own Spark context now. Well, SC with the new configuration for Cassandra. So I'll say, well, SC equals to new Spark context, and I'm giving my new configuration, which is a conf object. All right. Now I can directly create an object, and in this I can, using this Spark context object, I can get the Cassandra data. So new sc.cassandra table. The key space name was test underscore spark, and what was my table name? It was AMP. Yeah, let's see what we get. Oh, great, we have got the data here. Let me print this data. So get data dot, I'm going to use a loop in order to print this data, and inside this loop so see, let me run it again. Look at this, all the data we have got here. Employee ID 7, 5, its city, its name. So this entire data we are getting from Cassandra. All right. So that's how you can, take the advantage of the, framework like Spark. Let me close this. All right. So that's about it. We'll if you want to know, more about the learning path of Spark framework, you can, email us at support@intellipaat.com, or you can visit our website, which is https://intellipaat.com. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.
I'm sure you enjoyed learning from this video. Please like the video, and if you have any doubts regarding this video, please comment us in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such informative videos. Do look out for other related videos in our playlist. For more information, visit our website now. Keep learning with Intellipaat.